Thanks for staying with us. Bullying can have harmful and long-lasting consequences for children. Recently, we've heard several cases that have led to the death of a child. Joining us to discuss how bullying can be curbed in children and how to build confidence in kids. Okay, so we are going to be discussing bullying from our own perspective first before we bring in a guest. We want to discuss bullying, how we dealt with bullying, how we as parents are dealing with bullying in our children and against our children, before we now bring in a guest to join us talk about it. Let me hear from YK. We've discussed this thing, but you know when we discussed it then, you shared a few stories of your experience with your daughter, and now, sadly, one child died as a result of this, and we're revisiting it again. And the reason we're going to be discussing this extensively, probably all through this week, is because we don't want there to be ever, like there must never, ever, this must be, the justice for Sylvester must be that we, as a country, deal with this situation comprehensively. So, YK, you were not here yesterday. What was your first opinion when you saw this? How did you feel?
You know, till today I haven't watched the video, and I'm very, very glad I haven't watched the video, and I don't intend to ever watch the video, because you are watching a young kid
going through pain
in his last moments, one. Two, a death that could have been avoided if everybody had been had concentrated on, one, his changes. Two, in this, you see, for me, these schools are liable.
Very.
You do not take people's children and not be able to look after them. You are taking people's children. If I give you my child, and I'm paying you to look after my child, and then my child dies in your hand, look, then parents, again, they need to teach their children against bullying. And they must, if you know that your child is a bully, it has to have serious consequences, serious punishment. I shared a video today, and Obiajulu was talking about it, about this guy whose daughter was suspended from the school bus for bullying. So he made her walk 5 miles. He followed her, but she walked, because she says, I've been suspended, Daddy, you have to take me to school today. Take you to school. You go waka, go that
entitlement.
And he watched her. He followed her. She walked that 5 miles to the school. And that's the only way that he will teach her that you will take responsibility for your actions. We have to make our children take responsibility for their actions. And, you know, I just, the other day, I just have to say this one quickly. My brother's kid was bullied. One of his kids was bullied. About 5 boys, you know, just, and then he came, we don't take that kind of thing. The cuckoo know, when they come, they talk like this, action don't happen. Immediately. Everybody don't go to school. Say, hey, they are bullying my child. So I asked him today, are you still bullied? He said, no, for where? They don't bully also. That's because the action, the school knew, the students knew that, these ones don't want to tolerate bullying. You know? So I said, are other kids still bullied? He said, yes.
Wow. So apparently there's...
So I said, now I'm giving you work. If you see anybody being bullied, report to your school and then come and report to us. We will take action.
So, YK, you're taking ownership of your own nephew or niece as well as the entire community.
Exactly.
And what we usually do, because I've seen several videos of this from this Dowen, is that they will take their child away from the place. Quietly. Or they will just leave without ensuring that where you are living, you sanitize the place so that no other person suffers what your child suffers.
You don't have to leave. You can sanitize the place while you are there.
Still there.
Because if my child is being bullied in your school and I don't go there and solve the problem, the other children are going to be bullied. And now look at that is what has happened with this poor child. Because other parents who knew that their kids were being bullied. Look, I have many stories. I will let other people talk.
We'll come back to you, YK. Nima.
Okay. So
between yesterday and today, I know you've seen a lot of other videos
I'm just sort of now more confident in my parenting style. Yes, because I've had reasons to review.
I want lioness, team lioness.
I was bullied though. I used to be a quite short person, and I entered secondary school much younger. I was bullied. So I became a bully faster. As soon as I wrote junior WAEC, I became a bully. You attempt it, I face you because I cannot go. I remember telling my dad that I don't like that school. The teacher's method and everything. He said, you will finish there, you're made for tougher times. And I quickly just became that.
Tough.
So I used to do the same to my child and wondered how. But I noticed that my daughter now would sometimes do certain things to other kids and normalize it. And she would come and say, but I didn't, no. Certain things are values that I was raised with that I'm forcing on her. And I'm doing it in such ways I'm thinking, she's still 8, maybe I should just soften it. You can't tell a lie. And if you observe anything between two people, say what you saw. Don't take a side. No, but because this one is my friend, you know, we play more. Auntie, say what you saw. So now, I went home yesterday and I was feeling good in myself. When I tried to do the same to her brother, immediately she was saying, my mommy, hey, there's rule and order. We, as parents, why can't emphasize the entire thing? Must leave children to learn that in life choices, there will be consequences. Yeah. And there's no young age to start to learn it. From 2, when the child starts to lie, or you start to take things that you did not permit, there should be consequences. Immediately, you will do the right thing so that you're not disgraced in the future. And I don't want to start to give examples because we'll not exhaust today. As long as that child knows that, this thing I do, if my parents find out, or if somebody else, you should bring certain, arrive at certain
Nima,
things,
I want you to specify.
I will have to deal with the
You know, you gave a
consequence.
part of the story this morning, and I know you did not give me permission to share, but Nima specified that a child defended a friend. And you know, sometimes, if you don't deal with it, your daughter went in defense of a friend, and it seemed like your daughter was bullying someone. But your daughter, the background story was that that person was bullying someone.
This is exactly what happened. It was later. So I came from work, and my neighbor reported that, I saw your daughter fighting this girl. And this is a girl that, you know, she's not of means, but she's a girl very dear to me. So she's always around me. And I was like, why would she fight that particular girl? That girl is a peaceful child. What would ever have happened between the two of them? And so the other girl was like, yes, now, she even beat her very well. I didn't know she went to defend that girl who was giving me the account. So immediately my head just sparked. I don't want to hear anything. Bring Kim, come here. Auntie, you're fighting outside. Number one, let's settle it one time. So after dealing with her, that was when she now got to, but it was you who said that, you know, this girl had insulted you, we should go and fight. And then I went for you. And then she insulted me back, and then we started to fight. I said, okay, number one, we have arrived somewhere. Follow, to go and fight is a problem in my house. Number two, what did you set the boundaries? Did you find out whether she had, you know, provoked the girl to respond? Did you bother? And if you could not have bothered, Kukuma don't bother to involve. You know, say what you saw. And so I addressed values from ganging up and all of those things first, and then fighting outside, only to find out that she had even insulted the girl to say, oh, you are not of my class and all of that. So I made sure she stayed in that girl's house till an apology was accepted, and they partied back home. And then I continued to address this.
I really wanted you to specify the story, because sometimes as parents we find ourselves with a child who is strong. And with a strong child, you need to let the child learn control. Yes. That I have the ability to beat 4 of you, but you must teach each other that you don't beat people outside. Control. You must learn to control. BC, our lioness team. BC, last time we discussed this, we have different parenting styles. I probably wouldn't go to school to go and fight the school, but now I'm learning that I have to, because I need to defend my child and ensure that this doesn't happen to my child. But BC is one that will say, if you do one, I'll come to the school and scatter the place. But based on all the stories you've learned, how do you think parents can best deal with the cases of two scenarios I want you to deal with?
Their child bullying.
Yes.
And other people bullying their child.
Exactly.
Yes. So I happen to give birth to very strong children. They are very strong like me. And I remember when my first daughter was 5 years old in pink class, just about to get into year 1, the teacher complained to me. Then I was still a classroom teacher. And then she called me aside and said, your daughter has been bullying people in class. Your daughter has a clique. She will pick her friends and they will sit with her, and then she likes to be the boss, and she's bossing them around, and everybody likes her. Then when you do something and she takes you out of that clique, she will tell you that I have cancelled you, you are not coming back to this clique. Then that child will go home and be crying. I told my husband, I say, I don't understand. Because even at that age, I didn't even have liver to speak. So she came with her own. And how am I going to handle this? So sometimes I don't agree with my husband when it comes to some measures. I am tougher. He takes his time to give the punishment. But I said, okay, don't worry, I'll handle it in school. So I had a conversation with my daughter at 5 years, and I said, bullying is not allowed. Everybody is equal. No matter where you find yourself, no matter who you are, you must respect people. At 5, she was looking at me like, hey, Mommy, I just told her not to sit with me. I didn't do anything. I said, you don't discriminate.
That's
you don't
emotional.
do that. Do you know what I did? She loves Capri Sun. She loves her food, her snacks, extra things. I said, for 1 term, you're not going to have your snacks. For 1 full term. And I'm a very strict parent. If I say it, I follow it through. 1 term, you eat breakfast in the morning, so you people will not say I starved my child. You eat breakfast in the morning, you eat lunch in school, you come back, you eat dinner, but you see all those extra pecks, chocolates, and all that you take to school for 1 term. In 3 weeks, my daughter adjusted. So the teacher called me and said, what did you do to her? First of all, I noticed that Kosi doesn't come with snacks anymore. When people are eating snacks, she will just sit down and be reading her book. What happened? And I said I had to take her through this process because I was bullied for the majority of my childhood. And I knew how that turned me out to be. I became very aggressive. As you are giving it to me, I'm giving you goes back because I had to find a way to defend myself. I'm raising them in a loving environment. They're not having basbos. So they have no reason to give another person basbos. So what we need to do is let your children understand that there are consequences to certain actions. That's one. Let your children understand that another person is an expression of themselves. Love your neighbor as yourself. You love yourself, you love your neighbor. Because that person doesn't have, doesn't mean anything. We are all equal in the sight of God. We are all blessed in different ways. Treat people like yourself. So to have a child who will have the mind to beat up a child to the point of death, there's something that has gone wrong in the mind of that child. We have to trace it back to the parents, and we have to treat it. You see all those men that beat their wives, it's part of it. Your child is an absorbent mind when they come. They absorb impressions. So you are beating your wife, basbos. You are thinking you are a man. Don't worry, continue. Your children, whether it's a boy or a girl, they are absorbing that aggression, and they think it's a way of life. And it reflects the way they relate to other children outside. You see that one that you will keep malice. Your children know that you are not talking to your husband and wife are not having conversations. They are not talking to each other. They are not eating each other's food for 1 month, 2 months, and all that. They are absorbing that impression. When they go outside, they will give it back. So we as parents, we need to be deliberate.
To model the right things.
We need to be deliberate. It's not about dropping children in school and paying big money. Your life is a living example. And if you want to give love, you want your children to love, you need to give them love. So they are used to it. It becomes a pattern. Since that time till now, I've not had any complaint in her class that she is a bully. She's actually one of the best behaved in her classroom.
I just wanted to say, I totally agree that parents are responsible. When their children are bullies, parents are responsible either for not taking note of the child's attitude or being the example. Do you remember this child that killed 3 students in America, in Michigan?
Yes.
They have locked up the parents.
Because they found out that...
I don't know why they have put them for involuntary manslaughter. The child is in for murder, and they are in for involuntary manslaughter because they are an example to the child.
They traced it back home.
They traced it back home.
We're going to discuss it further. We're going to bring in a guest now. And our guest is a family therapist and mental health person, because we need to let our audience understand the impact of the parenting on the children and how we can spot a bully in our child and how we can spot bullying of our children. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.